when I first went over there, I think my third day there was my birthday. I lived in a place called Park Kultury, which is Gorky Park. It's kind of a pretty rough city area in Moscow. I spoke no Russian at all when I first went over there. And my translator, Max, came and picked me up where I was living. And he took me to the Moscow Art Theater, which is on Tverskaya, right across the street from Red Square. It's a few subway stops in a couple different directions to get there. And once we got there, the one thing that they tell you that's absolutely essential at all times is you always have to have your papers back then. At that point, the mayor ran the mafia, the mayor's police. They didn't really have a salary. They made their money by what they could sort of shake people down for. So we get to the theater, on my birthday and my first day of school, and I think like I'm actually making something of my life. I'm here in Russia, and I forgot my papers because I'm and I said to Max, man, I'm so sorry, man, I forgot my papers. And he said, okay, well, we got to go back and get them. And I said, nah, man, let's just go into school and we'll do it the next day. He said, no, they're not going to let you into the school without your papers. Let's go back and get them. I said, look, man, I'm a grown man. Let me go back and get my papers. You don't have to come with me. You just took me here. And everything's in Cyrillic. I couldn't read anything. I got completely lost, and I just had no idea where I was. I'm 3 days in Russia. It's getting dark. I'm screwing up. I finally make it back to my place. I get my papers. I make it back to the school, but now I've missed the first day. It's like completely dark, and I'm on the wrong side of Tverskaya, which is like this main street, about 16 lanes. And I got to get to the other side to get to school. And I just start kind of like Frogger. I'm like dodging cars, can't get to the other side. As soon as I get to the other side, boom, AK-47s in my face. Russian police are right there. They get me for crossing. You're supposed to cross below. I didn't know that. They're yelling at me in Russian. I give them, 20 rubles. They let me go. And I'm just like, birthday, I've missed my first day. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I do what any good American would do. I go and treat myself to a meal at McDonald's, right? So I go and I get myself some McDonald's. Then I'm going back that night, and I'm back in Park Kultury, and I'm walking down this street. I'm all by myself. Mercedes pulls up in front of me, and these two guys get out of the front seat, and they reach into the back seat, and they grab something out, and I see it's this woman with beautiful red hair. I'm the only one on the street, and they clearly don't see me, but this woman sees me, and she makes like direct eye contact with me. And they're pulling her out of the side. They're pulling her out of the back seat. She's not fighting them, but she's not helping them either. She's just like completely limp and just being dragged. And they take her over to this building, and they just start like opening her head up against the side of this building. They just start smashing her head. So I like forgot where I was, and like I ran at this guy, and I grabbed him, and in English, I'm like, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he just pulled out a gun. He just put it like right to my forehead, and he said in English, he's like, go away, like that. And Joe, I knew like in an instant, man. I knew in an instant that like it was like I was a bug. Like I was a bug. Like that was a different, I'd seen guns before. I'd seen stuff before. I just knew that this was a completely different level. And so, I walked away listening to that, to what they were doing. And it was like day 3. So that's on the brutality side of it. But I think conversely on the beauty side of it, it was a culture that I found like completely free of pretension. If you have a conversation with somebody, you really have a conversation. You look you in the eye, and there's no, hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm doing great. I saw this unbelievable national appreciation for the arts. I saw people who, you go on the subways, and people weren't reading, Us Weekly. They were reading Bulgakov and Tolstoy. It's an unbelievably literate society. I don't know, man. I'm so grateful for my time there, and it really, Alma and that place really saved my life. It was the Wild West, man. It was everybody was exploding, in this new freedom, and It was such an optimistic. You could feel the fragility, but there was also, man. If you bump somebody's foot by accident standing on a sidewalk, they have to step on your foot. It's like a Russian tradition. So if like you bump into somebody, they have to bump into you back. If there's a line, a lot of people just didn't believe in a young guy. And if there was an issue with the police, if we were being loud or somebody was trying to shake us down, I had this 21-year-old friend who was, in the FSB, and this 21-year-old kid, you know, could yield such unbelievable power just by put the fear of God in soldiers with guns like that, and that's something I don't know that we have an equivalent of that. I saw that there was I remember them talking about Putin and with George Bush at the time. I remember there was that thing of like, you know, I looked into his soul and it's like a great man. Are we really connected? There was this thing that there was an understanding among Moscovites that he would just toy with this guy, and things like deception and things like manipulation were things that were celebrated in a leader. They weren't. You know, we do the same, but we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to celebrate it. It's un-American. Ruling with an iron fist. You know, it was still very celebrated, and many Russians, I think, really ascribe to that. So I guess I'm heartbroken. You know, I'm heartbroken, and I'm heartbroken for all the people that, you know, all the young men that have fled and left, and the families that are being torn apart. I'm heartbroken for what's going on in Ukraine. But I guess I'm not that surprised, you know.